if you're an OnlyFans agency and you're working with creators that are not like A-tier talent, like creators that are not all in on this and treat this like a serious entrepreneurial venture, then this video is not going to help you, and neither will anything else, to be honest, right? I have scaled multiple girls from doing under 5 figures a month, 4 figures a month even, to multiple 6 figures per month, right? And it wasn't because I had the perfect strategy, it was because that the creators I was working with was leverage, right? They took it seriously, they had the talent, and then I just built the machine around them. And so if you're trying to systemize flaky, mid-tier sort of hobbyist creators, then this is not going to work, right? Because no cadence can fix like a lack of effort or star power, okay? But if you've got like 1 or 2 killer creators that are like all in and just want to make it work and are hungry, like, you know, they've got the look, they've got the charisma, they've got the hunger, then in this video today, I would literally show you how to turn that like raw talent into just an unfair advantage. And inside this video is the exact system and flow that we use to produce over 180 posts a month per creator, track every hook, stack viral videos with zero guesswork. And it is just insane. Like this applies for OnlyFans creators, this applies for OnlyFans agencies. If you want to take a creator from zero to hero, as long as you follow these steps, you put in the work, this will work for you, right? You might not get a 500K a month, you could get a 300K a month. Like, you know, it obviously depends. There's obviously variables, but this works. And if you apply the system, you are guaranteed to grow. I don't know how much you're going to grow, but like I said, we've literally taken girls from 10K a month to 300K a month with this system in 60 days, okay? And if you ignore this, then again, someone else is probably going to end up scooping your only good model and run this system better than you ever could. And so if that happens, you're not just back to zero, you back to, you know, I don't know, maybe it's fucking getting a job, right? So this is what I call the hook sprint, right? So I kind of want to set the tone before we dive in. Again, the system that I'm about to give you, it's not for everyone, right? It only works with the killers, the creators who actually treat this like a job. And so if you've got someone flaky, lazy, or disappears for days, then do not even bother trying to run this with them, because you'll just waste your time, okay? So the creators that this works for are the ones who actually show up every day, who are willing to post 6 times a day minimum, and actually treat their content like a business. Because the truth is, the winners don't scale, and they don't win because they're naturally talented. They win because they decide to, right? That is the truth. Winners win, not because they're naturally talented, but because they decide to win. And the way they win is very simple, right? And that is volume plus hooks plus daily cadence. That is it, right? Volume gives you more shots on goal. Hooks decide if you even get seen. And the daily cadence actually makes sure you're stacking reps every single day. And so the unlock is brutally simple, okay? And it's just do more, right? That is it. Do more. And today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in a way that turns 1 or 2 of your most committed creators into absolute, like, unfair advantages, right? So let's start with the core premise behind this system, right? So picture this, right? If you picture 2 different creators. Creator A is like 99% of girls on the platform, right? She posts whenever she feels like it, you know, maybe once this week, twice next week, then disappears for a couple of days. You know, she spends hours overthinking each video, trying to make it perfect. And when it flops, she tells herself like, oh, she's just not built for social media, and checks out. Creator B, on the other hand, treats her like a job, right? She posts 6 to 12 times a day minimum, right? She doesn't care if 9 out of the top 10 flop, right? Because she just knows that 1 will carry. She's got a list of hooks ready every single week, and she shows up to execute every single day, right? If you fast forward 30 days on these 2 creators, Creator A and Creator B, Creator A maybe has 8 videos out, right? Maybe 30 at the push. Creator B has over 180. And now ask yourself, like, who's more likely to go viral, right? Who's sharper at hooks? Like, who's, you know, more comfortable on camera? And who's better at grabbing attention, right? It's not even close. It's like Creator A and Creator B, it's not even close, right? And that's the unlock. It's inputs to outputs, right? So the more inputs that you put in, the more winners that you get out, because volume is what actually creates quality, right? And again, volume also negates luck. And so remember, every video is just 1 unit, right? Hook, retain, reward. And so if the hook fails, then nothing else really matters. And that is why 80% of the energy should go into hooks, right? And prep beats talent every time. And so the people who win are not the naturals, they're the ones who actually test more hooks, post more often, and stay consistent long enough to let the volume produce the winners, and to let the volume figure out what their brand direction's going in, okay? Now, like I said, before I go into who qualifies for this, I want to sort of zoom out first and show you what the system actually looks like in practice, right? So if you want to sort of think of it as like an assembly line, right? Every day, your A-tier creator runs through the same machine. And at the weekly level, you've got the 70-20-10 cadence, right? This is like my formula that is just proven to work time and time again, right? And what that 7-20-10 cadence is 70% of your content comes from reusing last week's winners, 20% of variations of those winners, 10% are brand new experiments. So that way you're not reinventing the wheel every day. You're just like compounding what already works. And then at the daily level, it looks like this, right? So you run a 15-minute, content call, just a huddle, and you and the creator review yesterday's data. You look at what popped and decide what's getting filmed today. Then comes the record block, right? Usually 60 to 90 minutes. This is where the creator sort of knocks out the content for the day, multiple takes on hooks, variations, reskins of viral videos, etc. And then finally, immediate posting, right? So no delays, no like, I'll do it later. The videos get posted the same day, right? Minimum 6 per day per creator. And on top of that, everything gets tracked. And this might be the most important thing that we're going to talk about today, okay? Everything gets tracked. Now, you'll log in what was actually posted, like how many views it got and which ones hit. And so the data from yesterday informs the decisions for today. And that is the system, right? It's simple, it's repeatable. And when it's run consistently, it creates viral videos like no other, right? Now, here's the catch, right? This only works if the creator actually shows up to that process, which brings us to qualification, right? The catch is, like I said, the system only works if the creator's actually all in, right? If she's half-hearted, if she's flaky, or she treats it like a hobby, then you'll crash and burn trying to run this system. So you have to gatekeep this hard, right? Like you have to. And so you want to think of it like building a sports team, right? You don't play your laziest athlete when you're trying to win a championship, right? You put your killers on the floor, right? The ones who actually show up to practice, run the plays, and take it seriously. And an A-tier creator is someone who shows up to every daily huddle, posts immediately after filming, hits 6+ posts per day every day, and they treat it like a job because it is. Right? And to enforce that, you give them a 14-day probation, right? So what that looks like is, if you miss 2 commitments and you cut, right? No passengers. You can, obviously, if you're at a higher scale, then you might not want to cut them. You can demote them to your B team or your C team. But obviously, that depends what stage you're at. But any creator that you're going to run this system with today, like, she could have been with you for 3 months. She might be a new sign-in that you want to test this with, wherever. Those first 14 days is probation period. And if she misses 2 commitments in those first 14 days, I don't care what excuse it is. Like, I really don't know. I do not give a fuck. Like, I don't care what the excuse is. I don't care if a fucking dog dies. Like, I don't care, right? Like, if she misses 2 commitments, she's either cut or gets demoted to the B and C team, again, depending on how big your agency is. If you don't know what the A, B, and C team is, you can go watch one of my other videos. I'll link it somewhere, you watch that after. But again, just to keep this simple, 14-day probation period, if you're going to run the system with a creator, and if they miss 2 commitments, you stop running this system with it. You gatekeep it hard, right? Now, the reason is, the second you actually bend the rules for like one flaky creator, you waste your team's energy, you waste your energy, trying to drag someone up the mountain who doesn't want to climb, right? It's like, you can only lead a horse to water, but you can't make a drink, right? Now, this is not for everyone, right? Like I said, it is for the 1 to 2 leverage creators who actually want to build a brand, not just get some quick cash and a quick check and wherever, right? These are the creators that have shown you that it's willing for you to pour your time, effort, resources, and energy into. Everyone else, either don't work with them if you're small, because it's just going to waste time. But if you're a bigger agency, just keep them on autopilot, right? If you're a bigger agency, you should have a productized system where, if as soon as they come through your funnel, there's a lead scorer that scores them, they sign, they close, then they get plugged into an automatic system that can guarantee them results, right? If you don't have that, then you have other issues. But again, like, this is for those like 1 to 2 leverage creators that you just want to go all in on, right? That you want to make into the next Bonnie Blue, Sophie Rain, Camilla. Like, this is what that is, right? So let's break down the weekly cadence, right? This is the engine that actually keeps the system compounding instead of stalling. So here's the mistake that most people make. They treat every week like a blank slate, right? They sit there thinking, what should we post this week? And then they wonder why they actually run out of ideas in 2 days. And that is not how winners operate, right? Winners treat content like a portfolio. So every week they're investing their energy into 3 buckets: the 70, the 20, and the 10 bucket, right? 70% of your content should come straight from last week's winners, right? If a hook hit once, it's going to hit again. So do not be afraid to repeat it. And sometimes the 3rd or 4th time is the one that actually really blows up when you are reskinning, recreating winners, right? 20% permutations, right? So small twists on the winners. Like I like to say, yoink and twist, right? And that is where, you know, you're going to be changing the opener, maybe changing the angle, maybe changing the visual, maybe changing the tone, you know, changing the outfit, wherever, right? It's the same DNA, but you're just giving her a new wrapper. And then 10% is going to be brand new experiment. So this is your research and development lab, right? R&D. You know, it's going to be wild hooks, you know, new formats, things you've never tried before. And now most of these are going to flop, but every now and then you actually find a new category winner. And it's funny because this is actually what Ashton Hall was doing, something similar. It might not have been this exact split, but he was sort of experimenting, and that 10% that he was experimenting with ended up being that morning routine video that absolutely took off, and now he's known for that, right? And so this is how you actually create those brands where, you know, people can get known for something super unique, right? And even though the morning routine, people have done it like for years and years and years, and it's a proven format, just the little twist and the little new sort of format, the new sort of things that he added to it is what obviously made it what it is. And you can do the same with your models, right? Now, again, 70%, 20%, 10%, right? So 70% of your content comes straight from last week's winners, 20% are permutations, so yoink and twist on the winners, and 10% are brand new experiments. Now, this structure solves two problems. Number one, it keeps you from burning out because most of your content is just recycling what already works. And number two, it forces you to keep testing so you never get stagnant. Now, here is how you feed that system. Hooks, right? Every week, each ATA creator should have a list of at least 50 hooks written out. And now that list comes from three sources: past winners, your own content, and other people's winners, right? That way you never get stuck saying, we ran out of ideas, because the truth is you never actually ran out of content, you only ran out of hooks. So let me give you a picture of how this plays out, right? Say last week you had two videos that crushed, right? One pulled 50K views, the other one did 120K, right? If you're on a smaller scale, just trying to get out of the weeds. This week, 70% of your content is just those two hooks again, repackaged and reposted. 20% is yoink and twists on them, right? So new openers, new outfits, new locations. And then the last 10%, that is where you test brand new hooks from your list of 50, right? Now that means you've got stability, predictability, and upside all built into one portfolio, right? This is where creators who actually run this system always look like they just end up exploding out of nowhere. Because while everyone is like just posting randomly and copying trends and doing all this stuff, they run in like an actual disciplined cadence that compounds week after week, right? And this is how we actually ended up like sort of building the whole vertical thing that we sort of like patented, right? Like the whole vertical play of like Omegle vertical and this and that, right? Like we was doing this sort of 70-20-10 split, and when we was testing these new ideas and, you know, recreating winners, we ended up figuring out that there's certain verticals within these like 70-10 cadence that are almost just proven and go viral with almost any creator time and time again. And so that's why we always have, whenever we take on a new creator, we always have some sort of base of like, well, let's just test these, see how they go, and then we just, again, iterate, and we follow that 70-20-10 split with sort of a boost, because we kind of have so much data across creators, not just from the creators we work with, but also the agencies that we plug the same systems into, and they have the same verticals, and they also do insane. Like we have data across all that, and so like whenever new creators sign with us, it's super simple to just be like, boom, do these verticals, give it like a month, give it 2 months, give it 3 months, however long it takes, and when we follow that 70-20-10 split, you'll start to eventually sort of like blow up, right? Real quick, I've got a free gift for you, and it's called the OFM Scaling Roadmap. And it's something that I've spent over 150 hours building, because I was sick of seeing agency owners get stuck at the same points, make the same mistakes, and not know why. And so what it does is it breaks down the journey of growing an OFM agency into 7 clear stages, from 0 to 500K plus per month. And it shows you what to focus on, what to ignore, and how to scale without burning out or blowing up the back end of your business. We cover all 8 business functions, from product, marketing, sales, IT, customer success, recruiting, HR, and finance, and what each one needs to look like at your current stage. So if you're stuck at 10K a month, 30K a month, 100K a month and beyond, this will tell you why and exactly what you need to do to graduate to the next level. It's totally free. Just click the first link below this YouTube video, answer a few questions so I can customize it for you, and I will send it right over. I also just want to say thank you. The DMs I get daily from people using the content, sharing wins, breakthroughs, clarity, it genuinely fires me up. And if you're watching still feeling stuck or confused, you are not alone. This roadmap is for you. I built what I wish I'd had when I started, and now it's yours. So now you understand the weekly portfolio, right? The 70-20-10 keeps you compounding the winners. But the real heartbeat of the system is not weekly, it's daily. Because the consistency is what separates the girls who grow from the ones who stall out, right? And here's how the daily sprint works. works in 3 parts. Part 1 is the 15-minute huddle, right? So every single day, you and your A-tier creator start with a quick content call, and this isn't a brainstorm, it's a huddle, right? So that is where you look at yesterday's results, you highlight the top 10% of posts and the bottom 10%, and then you decide today's 70, 20, 10 slate, okay? It's short, it's sharp, it's focused, and you just let the data do the talking, right? You let the data teach. Part 2 is the record block, right? So straight after the huddle, the creator goes into a 60 to 90 minute record block. Could be longer or shorter, give or take, but this is where the volume comes from, right? So this is multiple takes of hooks, different angles, quick reskins of anything that worked yesterday. And you want to sort of think of it like reps in the gym, right? You don't just do one, like you don't just do one set and then leave the gym, right? You stack the volume so you actually build the strength, right? And then part 3 is just the immediate posting. So this part is non-negotiable, right? The content gets posted the same day, minimum 6 posts per day per creator. No, I'll do it later, right? No waiting around for the perfect edit, because here's the rule. Momentum compounds, and so the longer you delay, the more friction you create, and the more likely the creator is to fall off. And the deeper reason why this matters is because quality is not actually what you think it is. It's what your audience says it is, and that is going to be different for every creator depending on them as a creator, right? And so let me say that again. Quality is not what you think it is. It's what your audience says it is, right? So you do not determine the quality. Your audience determines what's quality, right? You don't decide what's good, they do. And quantity is the tool to use to discover quality, right? So you have to post quantity to figure out what your audience thinks is quantity. So if, for example, you post 100 videos in 30 days, that's 100 data points in a month, right? Whereas if you spend all month perfecting 10 videos, you quite literally might learn nothing, right? And so high quantity is fast feedback, and low quantity is going to equal slow or no learning. And so that's why we don't argue with the algorithm, we just feed it, right? Then you add the derivative rule, right? So every time you hit a winner, that piece of content isn't finished, right? You don't just, oh yeah, we hit a viral video, great, now we just need to try and get the next viral video, because that's what a lot of people do, right? You can reskin that so many times, right? And so every time you hit a winner, that piece of content is not finished, right? Tomorrow it spawns 5 reskins, right? New opener, new location, new captions, maybe a new frame. It's the same DNA, but it's multiplied. And we might just get it. So we've done this so many times. We have a video that gets 10 million views, right? We reskin it the next day, and the first 3 videos maybe not do well. That 4th video actually does more than 10 million views. And then we reskin that, right? And it's just it's a cycle. You can just do that over and over and over again, right? Again, it's just the same DNA just being multiplied. And that is how you stretch the life of a winner and flood the algorithm with variations that all have a chance to pop. That is why, 7 months ago, 8 months ago, whenever trial reels came out, it's not as good as it was now. We exploited the absolute fuck out of trial reels, because you could literally post like 100 times a day. And we had already so many reskinned winners. Trial reels gave us a new opportunity to use those same reskinned winners to a new audience that had never seen them before. And so we was getting hundreds of millions of views for some of our creators with trial reels. It was absolutely insane. I think one of our creators passed over 1 billion views in a month just from trial reels and just reskinning winners. And it just shows that it's just a very overpowered strategy, right? You can still use trial reels now, still works. You can still apply the same concept. It's just you can't post as much as we did then. But anyway, again, that is how you stretch the life of a winner, right? And flood the algorithm with variations that all have a chance to pop and go viral. So when you zoom out, right, the daily cadence looks like this. Quick huddle to review data, a record block to stack the reps, immediate posting, 6+ per day, and then winners are going to be multiplied into more winners. And if you do that for 30 days and you're not just posting, you actually start to build an unstoppable flywheel, because you want to remember, right? The algorithm doesn't reward the best idea. It rewards the most tested hooks. And the daily sprint is how you actually guarantee that those tests happen, right? So that's that. Let's talk about how you actually build the content itself, right? Now, the mistake that most creators make is they spend all their energy on the middle or the end of the video, right? The story or the caption or the transitions or the polish, right? But the reality is none of that matters if the hook fails or the hook is trash. So every video is just one simple unit. Hook, retain, reward, right? Every viral video uses that format. Hook, retain, reward. If the hook doesn't grab attention, the rest never gets seen. If you don't retain attention, then they swipe away before you deliver. And if you don't reward the promise, then you lose trust and they won't come back, right? And so the hook is the gatekeeper. And that is why 80% of your prep should go into hooks. So not filming, not editing, not call to actions, hooks. So think of it like building a house, right? If the foundation is weak, it doesn't matter how nice the kitchen is if the whole thing fucking collapses, right? So if we talk about it practically, how do you actually do this? Well, you keep what we call the hook bank, right? And so every A-tier creator needs a living document, right? A hook bank. And that is a spreadsheet with the hook line, the platform, the views it pulled, and a link to that video. And this becomes the playbook. And so before recording, you just review the hook bank, pull your best options, and decide what you want to shoot today. And so the hook bank solves the number one excuse is, we ran out of ideas, because you never run out of content, you only run out of hooks, right? So again, you want to have that assembly line mindset, right? Remember, we're not trying to make art, we're running an assembly line. So open with multiple hook takes, stack variations, assemble them later if needed, because perfection in this stage is going to kill any sort of momentum you have, right? And if you start to over customize, it's just going to kill the volume. So the winners are found by throwing more hooks at the wall and seeing which ones the audience sticks with. Because the truth is, again, quality isn't what you think it is, it's what the market says it is, what the audience says it is. And so your job isn't to predict, but your job is to just test, right? You want to just look at each piece of content as another data point, right? As another lottery ticket. So when you think about creative assembly, the hierarchy is hooks first, then retain with pacing, visual story, wherever your video is, right? Obviously, the slight nuances depending on the content you're making. And then reward with a payoff that makes the viewer feel like it was worth watching, right? That is why skits do so well. Omegle does so well. Snapchat does so well. And I'm not talking about Snapchat, the platform. I'm talking about the vertical that we created, right? Do that, and you'll never be showing content again, because the person with the most hooks tested always wins, right? It's also why the sex tip vertical that we created does so well. Like, that is why, right? Because it follows that hook, retain, reward pacing, right? Now, if we talk about the scorecard, right? Because if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. This is the most important part of all this, right? So pay attention. If you don't track this, everything I've just said, it goes to waste, right? The whole system is just going to turn into guesswork, and that is not what you want, right? You can't be running your business based off emotion. You have to base everything off data, right? And it's easy to get sucked into emotion in business. But if you have the data that you can objectively look at, that is how it's going to help you make actual decisions, right? So if you feel yourself like, fuck, like, what do we do? Or, I think we should post this piece of content, blah, 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 blah. Always look at the data before making those decisions, right? Because the data doesn't lie, right? But human emotion, again, can be very misleading. So here's how I want you to think about it, right? We measure leading indicators and lagging indicators. So leading indicators are the things that you control directly. So that is stuff like posts per day, time from huddle to post, percentage of content that fits the 70-20-10 mix, reskins created per winner, right? These are the behaviors, the inputs. They tell you whether the creator is actually doing the work regardless of results. Now, the lagging indicators are the outcomes. So the stuff that you can't force, but you influence through volume. So that is stuff like median views. Now, the reason we track median views, because a lot of people have asked me this, like, because I see a lot of people saying like, oh yeah, we just track the average views. The issue with tracking the average views is you're going to likely have videos on that page that skew those average views quite drastically, right? Because most people have got a video that's an outlier that's just managed to get 10 million or 20 million views and they have no idea why or how, and that skews the average of all the videos. So you want to track the median views, not the average views. It's just a better metric to track, right? Because what we do is we track the median views. So let's just say our median views is 50K. We then know if we get a video that has 150K, well, that's a 3x multiple, right? And we track it like that. Oh, that's a 3x, that's a 2.5x, that's a 1.2x, right? And that then gives us the signal to be like, okay, let's reskin this or you know what I mean? So it's just a better metric. Saves and shares is the next thing, right? So again, lagging indicators the outcomes, the stuff you can't force, but you influence through volume. So that is stuff like median views, saves and shares, follows gained, click-through rate to OnlyFans, conversion rate, and then the week-over-week delta on like your top 10% performers, right? And there's other metrics you can track, but these are just a couple of examples, right? Now, these are the results, the outputs, and they tell you if the market is rewarding the work. And the mindset shift here is you don't chase the lagging indicators directly, you chase the leading indicators and the lagging indicators follow. And so if the posts per day are high, if the reskins are consistent, if the cadence is tight, then the views, the follows, and the subs will inevitably catch up. Now, there's always time delay, right? That is the time delay, depending on the creator, could be 2 months, 1 month, 3 months, 2 weeks, 4 months, but if you follow the system, again, remember, systems are all about predictability and reliability. And so if you've proven a system with a certain creator or with multiple creators, and you've got that data, again, it's just a matter of time before the lagging indicators follow the leading indicators, right? So let's put some teeth into this, right? the rule of 100, right? Now, I got this from Hamosi, very good. Your A-tier creator should be investing at least 100 minutes a day into making content, right? I got the rule of 100 from Hamosi, and you want to use this for any principle in your business, right? Hamosi uses it in the sense of whatever the main constraint is in your business, because you only ever have one constraint in your business at a time, right? Like everyone thinks they have tons of problems and constraints, but you only ever actually really have one, right? Because all the others are stuff that, okay, yeah, you can have fucking 20 problems at once, but most of those problems are like little increases or optimization. So, you know, you can increase the close rate by 2%, and that's going to make a 10% increase on the business. You can tweak this and it's going to have a 10% impact, but there's always only like one bottleneck, right? One main problem that you need to solve at a time and prioritize. And so Mozy uses the rule of 100, right? And so an example of a rule of 100 is, let's just say that you are trying to grow your agency and you're just starting from scratch. You have no creators, no one knows who you are. Your only constraint at that level is, again, you have to break out of obscurity. No one knows who the fuck you are, so you have to tell people about your stuff, right? And Hamosi says to use the rule of 100 to solve that bottleneck, right? It could take a month, it could take 5 months, but you do the rule of 100. And so what that means is you spend 100 minutes a day, could be outreaching creators, 100 minutes a day on content, right? All the things that are going to solve that one constraint. So if you're just starting out, that's going to be breaking out of obscurity, telling people about your stuff, signing clients. And so you should be spending 100 minutes a day doing only things that contribute to solving that problem, right? And so I use the same principle with A-tier creators, where they should be investing at least 100 minutes a day into making content, because we do everything else for them, right? They don't need to worry about anything else, because that is the point of full service management. And so the only job at A-tier is to make content and make good content. And so they should be investing at least 100 minutes a day into making content, right? That is the minimum, that is the standard. Because if she's only putting in 20 minutes a day, then she's not even giving the system a chance to work. So when you're running this play, the scoreboard becomes your accountability tool. And so every day you can ask, did she hit 6 posts today? Did she reskin yesterday's winners? Did she post within the same day? And then every week you can ask, are the median views going up? Are the top 10% posts outperforming last week's? And that is how you keep the machine honest, right? Because this is not about feelings or what you think or what she thinks. It's about data. And the scorecard and the scoreboard doesn't lie, right? So I want to make one thing very clear with this, right? Again, this system only works if everyone knows their role. And so the worst thing you can do is blur the lines and end up with finger pointing. Oh, she didn't post, or, oh, well, they didn't give me ideas. Well, she didn't show up. No, right? Roles and rules remove excuses. And so the agency's role is you run the sprint, you supply the hook bank, you track the data, and you enforce the standards. And your job is to keep the machine running and make sure that the creator has zero friction when it comes to what to post and when to post. The creator's role is to show up to the daily huddles, to record the content, spend at least 100 minutes a day on it, post immediately, and log the data the same day, right? Your job's simple. Just execute. There's no overthinking. There's no disappearing. There's no delays. Just execution, right? And so then you have the guardrails, which is what protects both sides, right? So platform safe angles only, no terms of service violations or risk bans, stick to brand standards, right? The creator's tone, look, positioning stays consistent, which again, you'll really actually start to find out like her brand as you start to do this more. Probation rules apply, right? So if you miss 2 commitments in 14 days, she's replaced. And that is mainly for the first 14 days when you're running this system, right? Obviously, if you've been running this system with a creator for 6 months and she said every day for 6 months she misses 2 days, don't obviously get rid of it. Like, I'm assuming you know that and you're a bit smart. But, you know, just want to make that disclaimer. Again, the guardrails are not punishment, they're protection, right? They protect the system, they protect the agency, and they protect the creator from sabotaging yourself. So you want to remember, the agency drives the process, the creator executes the reps, and the rules keep everyone safe. And so when everyone knows their lane, then the system actually hums, right? And when someone steps out of their lane, then the system is going to stall, which is why you enforce the roles ruthlessly. Now, before we wrap this video up, right, I want to call out the most common fail points that I see when agencies try to run this system and how to actually fix them. Because if you know where their landmines are, then you won't step on them, right? Fair? Cool. Fail point number 1. Flaky talent, right? The number 1 killer of this system is trying to run it with the wrong girl. If she doesn't show up, if she ghosts, if she treats it like a hobby, it doesn't matter how good your hooks are, the system collapses. The fix is gatekeep it hard, right? Use a 14-day probation, replace fast, don't waste agency bandwidth dragging someone who doesn't want to climb around it. Fail point number 2, we ran out of ideas. This excuse kills momentum, right? The truth is you never run out of ideas. You just run out of hooks. And the fix here is to maintain the hook bank, right? Write 50 hooks per week, per creator. And again, you should only, likely the people I'm speaking to you probably only have 1 or 2 amazing creators you want to do this with. It's not like you're going to be doing it across 20 creators. At that point, you know, you're at massive scale and it's going to become a bit more difficult. But again, maintain the hook bank, right? 50 hooks per week per creator, pull from past winners, right? Other people's winners, and, you know, ad libraries, wherever you want to look at, right? If the bank is full, you'll never stall, right? So you can look at other people's content, you can look at, you know, verticals, which is why the people that we work with tend to have so much success fast, because we've already got proven verticals from all the creators we work with and the agencies that we work with as well, because we can just pretty much plug in the verticals and be like, boom, do these 3 verticals for 6 weeks straight, and then based on those verticals, we just, again, we're running the 70-20-10 split, but we kind of know what the 70% is going to be before. So if you, the only obviously problem is if you do have a new creator, you're not going to have any past winners, right? And so she could be an A-team creator that's amazing, it's going to put in the effort, but when you don't have any past winners, it's going to be slower. So just keep that in mind. But when you do have the proven verticals like we do, it doesn't matter if you're a new creator, we can just come in and be like, boom, do these verticals, follow this, and then we kind of know it's going to work, and then we just run the 70-20-10 play, right? So that is obviously the thing there. Now, that is key, right? So over customizing, right? Fail point 3. A lot of creators waste time trying to make every video perfect. They'll edit it for hours, they'll stress over lighting, they'll worry about captions, but the fix is, remember, this is an assembly line. More shots on goal beats perfect every time. And so the winners here are going to be found by throwing volume and testing volume, not just by polishing one video to death and hoping it goes viral. Fail point 4, losing discipline on cadence. This is a big one, right? This is the big one. I've seen this happen time and time again with agencies that we've worked with and applied this system, where they start to let the huddles slip, the daily huddles, because they start to do well. They start, you know, making more money than they could have thought about. They, you know, their creators start going viral, and the daily huddles start to slip, and it's not an immediate effect. And so what I mean by that is there's always a time delay and there's always a lag. So let's just say you're doing these inputs every day. And the inputs are, you're posting 6 times a day, you're doing the 70-20-10 split, you're tracking the data, you're doing the daily huddles, you're doing everything, right? And you do that for 3 months straight. And then you hit your exponential growth curve, you stop blowing up, now you're making 300 grand a month, life's good. At that point, a lot of people stop doing the inputs that got them there, because they think that now they're just good, and they start to change stuff and everything starts to, you know, be different. And they let's just say they reduce the daily huddles to once a week, because now they're making 300k a month, everything's good. And they don't notice it. The first month, it's going to be fine, right? They're still making 300k a month, still growing. Oh, cool. We've dropped to one meeting a week, and now she's only posting 3 times a day, and we're still making the same amount of money. Oh, this is amazing. But then what they don't realize is there's a time delay. And so, like, then 3 months go by, and all of a sudden everything starts going down. And they're like, fuck, why is everything going down? Like, what's going on? And then they start making all these changes. Their emotions start getting in the way, and they're like, fuck, like, I don't know what's going wrong. Like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you stopped doing the inputs that got you there in the first place, right? So do not let the huddle slip, because I've seen it time and time again, right? Maybe the posting drops 3 to 4 times a day, right? Maybe the reskins stop happening. That is not what you let happen, especially when you're winning, right? So the fix is to go back to the scoreboard, track the leading indicators daily, 6 posts plus per day, reskins a day, every day, immediate posting. And if these are not happening, then nothing else matters, right? So the mindset is, if the talent flakes, replace or demote them to your B and C team. If the ideas dry up, write more hooks. If the team's over customizing, strip it back to volume. And if the cadence slips, go back to the scoreboard, right? The system's very simple, guys, like very simple. But it only works if you protect it from the obvious failure points. And if you do, you'll be shocked at how fast a single committed creator can scale. So here's what I want to leave this video with today, right? This system is not for every creator. It's not even for most creators. It's for the 1 or 2 leverage killers that you've got in your roster, the ones who treat this like a career, not a side hustle, because when you pour this system into someone who's all in, the results can compound very fast, right? So if we zoom out, again, the premise is simple. Inputs create outputs. The system is structured, so that is weekly portfolio, daily sprint, hooks first. The scoreboard is what keeps it honest. The roles is what keeps it disciplined. And the fail points remind you what not to tolerate. And so when you run it, the math's unfair, right? 6 posts a day isn't 6 chances, it's 6 data points. 30 days of that is 180 posts. Add reskins as well to that, and you're well past 200 tests a month, right? And when you go even further and you start making 6 figures a month, and you add clipping on top of that, right? Which is what we do, right? We have a clipping army that we run for all our creators. We have the biggest clipping army on all of WAP, specifically for OnlyFans creators. We have over 600 meme pages that we work with that clip up our content. And so, like, that is, you know, this is paid marketing, but, you know, you only want to do this when you're sort of making that 6 figures a month with a creator. That just compounds, right? Like, we get an extra 100 million plus views a month for some creators from their clipping campaigns. because again, we're partnered with like 600 of the biggest meme pages that have tier 1 audiences. Like, it's very easy for us to scale models to 6 figures a month when we, or beyond 6 figures a month, when we plug them into a clipping system. And again, you can actually utilize the same clipping system we use. And this is not me even trying to sell you on it. Like, we generally just offer this to agencies that are, do have creators making over 100K a month. You can also come into the clipping community and, launch a campaign with your creator and start to, blow them up with clipping. But again, that's paid marketing and it's expensive. So like, unless you're willing to put 10 grand a month into a campaign for your creator and not even worry about the return for 3 months, that is not for you, right? But we do offer the clipping services for agencies that want to scale with paid marketing and blow past, the 200, 300, 500K a month mark, which is where a lot of people do get stuck. Now, again, right, that is when you run the maths on fee, like I said, this is hundreds of chances for viral videos while everyone else is still sitting there overthinking tempo, so copying viral trends, right? Remember, the quality isn't what you think it is, it's what your audience decides, and quantity is how you find it. And so the mindset I want you to leave this with is do more, get better, repeat until it's unfair, find your 1 to 2 A tier creators, build a machine with them, and watch what happens when you stop guessing and start running the assembly line. Because the truth is, winners do not win because they're special, like I said, or because they're talented. They win because they decided to run systems like this every day without compromise. And now you've got a system, so it's on you to put it in play, right? And I know I talk about risk exposure a lot and like, you don't want to be over reliant on one creator. And while that is extremely true, when you're just starting out and you just want to get some cash, don't try and scale to just 10 creators because you don't want risk exposure, right? Because like at that level, it doesn't matter. Risk exposure is more, I'm talking to more of the bigger agencies who are making 500 grand a month. They have 10 creators, but one creator is 450K of that, right? If you're just starting out, it's actually super smart to use your time and energy, which is what you have as leverage against the bigger agencies, right? You can move faster because it's just you, to work with one creator that's an A-tier creator and just blow it up to 100 grand a month. And then, you're making 50 grand a month of that. And then you can worry about reducing your risk exposure. And even if she does leave, it doesn't matter because you still made a fuck ton of money. And now you've got cash in the bank and you can make smarter decisions, better decisions once you've got cash in the bank, right? So if you're just starting out, I would advise just finding one A-tier creator. Now that means you still have to have good acquisition because you're going to have to probably go through some creators. You might have to go through 10 or 20 creators. Like you might have to sign 10 or 20 creators to find that one A-tier creator. But when you do and you find her, and you do this test and you give her the 14-day preparation period and she passes, go all in on her, blow her up to 6 figures a month, and then scale from there, right? That is going to be it for this video. See you at the top. Peace.